Thank you. man desires the position of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, temperate, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not covetous, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence. For if a man does not know how to rule his own house, how will he take care of the church of God? Not a novice, lest being puffed up with pride, he fall into the same condemnation as the devil. Moreover, he must have a good testimony among those who are outside, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil. Likewise, deacons must be reverent, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy for money, holding the mystery of the faith with a pure conscience. But let these also first be tested. Then let them serve as deacons, being found blameless. Likewise, their wives will be reverent, not slanderers, temperate, faithful in all things.
One more stronger. look forward to awesome and glorious second coming, about which we tremble and pray, and we offer up our prayers and intercessions to you and through you to your Father, beseeching and saying, be they തെറ്റുകളെ വായിക്കണമേ, അവരുടെ ശിക്ഷാവിധിക്ക് നീ തുനിയരുതേ. എന്നാൽ മാതാവിന്റെ പുത്രൻ മാത്രമല്ലാതെ തിരുസന്നിധിയിൽ കുറ്റം ചേർക്കുവാനുമില്ലല്ലോ. ആയതിനാൽ അവർ മൂലമുള്ള കരുണയും പാപമോചനവും പ്രാപിക്കുവാൻ വേണ്ടി ഞങ്ങൾ വാങ്ങിപ്പോയവരും അവരിൽ തന്നെ ശരണപ്പെടുന്നു.
Which both we and they committed against thee.
More peace be unto you all.
And to thy spirit.
വലിയ പരിശുദ്ധമായ ശുശ്രൂഷയാകുന്ന ദൈവത്തിന്റെ കരുണ നമ്മുടെ വാസനഭാചനങ്ങളെ നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരോടും കൂടെ ഇന്നും എന്നാളും ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കട്ടെ. in the beginning and unto ages of ages. Your Reverence, what the announcers John Kawar, the Archbishop of the Syrian Orthodox Church of the Eastern USA, Reverend Father Daniel Chini, the Primate of the Armenian Orthodox Church, and all the very reverend and reverend clergy of the sister churches, and dear sisters and brothers in Christ. Today we are assembled here for a solemn, blessed occasion to celebrate the Holy Liturgy in this beautiful cathedral and to ordain our dear Chris to the rank of Reader or Royo in the Holy Church. പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയുടെ ദൃശ്യതലനായ പരിശുദ്ധ പാത്രീസ് ബാവായുടെ അനുമതിയോടുകൂടെ ബലഹീനായ ഈ സ്ഥാനത്തേക്ക് വിളിച്ച് നിയമിച്ചതായ കാലം ചെയ്ത പരിശുദ്ധ സഹപ്രദൻ പാത്രീസ് ബാവായുടെ അനുഗ്രഹത്തോടുകൂടെ ഈ നയിയുടെ നിന്നും ഈ ശുശ്രൂഷ നിർവഹിക്കുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളുടെ വലിയ പ്രാർത്ഥനകളും നമ്മുടെ കർത്താവ് തന്റെ മനുഷ്യാവതാരത്തിന് തുടർച്ചയായി ലോകത്ത് പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയെ സ്ഥാപിക്കുകയും അതിന് നേതൃത്വം കൊടുക്കുവാനായിട്ട് അപ്പോസ്തലന്മാരെ നിയമിക്കുകയും അതിലൂടെ പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയുടെ ശുശ്രൂഷകൾ നടപടിയായിട്ട് മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകുവാനുള്ളതായ ക്രമീകരണങ്ങൾ ചെയ്യുന്നതും നാം വിശുദ്ധ പുസ്തകത്തിൽ വായിക്കുന്നു. നാം എല്ലാവരും തിരഞ്ഞെടുക്കപ്പെട്ട ജാതിയും സ്വന്തം ജനവുമാണ്, രാജകീയ പൗരോഹിത്യത്തിന്റെ അവകാശികളാണ് എന്നിരിക്കെ അതിൽ നിന്ന് ചില ആളുകളെ സ്പെഷ്യലായിട്ട് തിരഞ്ഞെടുത്ത് സഭയുടെ മിനിസ്റ്റീരിയൽ പ്രീസ്റ്റ്ഹുഡിന് വേണ്ടി സെലക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത് നാം കാണുന്നു. അപ്പോസ്തല പ്രവൃത്തികൾ പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് തുടർന്നുള്ളതായ പൗലോസ്ലീഹയുടെ ലേഖനങ്ങളിൽ, പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് തിമോഥെയോസിന്റെ ലേഖനം, തീത്തോസിന്റെ ലേഖനം, അതിലൊക്കെയും സഭയുടെ എപ്പിസ്കോപ്പസിയെ കുറിച്ച്, അതില് ബിഷപ്പ് എന്തായിരിക്കണം, കാശീശോ എന്തായിരിക്കണം, ഡീക്കൻസ് എന്തായിരിക്കണം എന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ വിവരിക്കുന്നതും നാം കാണുന്നു. നാം ഇതിന്റെ ചേർന്നാണ് എഫെസ്യരുടെ ലേഖനത്തിൽ നാം വായിക്കുന്നത്, നാം you are no longer strangers or foreigners, but you are fellow citizens with the saints and members of the household of God. ദൈവത്തിന്റെ ഭവനത്തിന്റെ അംഗങ്ങളും വിശുദ്ധന്മാരോട് സഹപൗരത്വമുള്ളതായ വ്യക്തികളുമാണ് എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ ആ ഭവനം എന്ത് എന്ന് അതിന്റെ പിന്നാലെ പൗലോസ്ലീഹ വിവരിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോസ്തലന്മാരാൽ, പിതാക്കന്മാരാൽ, ഗുരുക്കന്മാരാൽ ഇതൊക്കെയും പണിയപ്പെടുന്നതായ ഓരോ കല്ല് ആയിട്ട് പരിശുദ്ധ സഭ കെട്ടപ്പെടുന്നതായ പണിയപ്പെടുന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ച് വിവരിക്കുന്നു. നാം എല്ലാവരും പൗരോഹിത്യത്തിലുള്ളവരും അതുമായ കാരണം നാം ചെയ്യുന്നതായ വിശ്വാസ സമൂഹമൊക്കെയും ദൈവത്തിന്റെ സഭയുടെ കെട്ടുപിടിക്കായിട്ട് വിളിക്കപ്പെട്ടവരാണ്. ഇന്ന് ഈ ശുശ്രൂഷ നിർവഹിക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ പ്രാർത്ഥനകളിൽ കൂടെ ആവശ്യപ്പെടട്ടെ. ആവശ്യമായ തയ്യാറെടുപ്പുകളോടെ തന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ ഏറെക്കാലം പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയുടെ ശുശ്രൂഷയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടി മാറ്റിവെച്ച് അനാവശ്യമായ പരിശീലനം നേടുവാനായിട്ട് സെമിനാരി 1 വർഷം, പിന്നീട് സെന്റ് കോൺസില് പിന്നീടുള്ള വർഷമൊക്കെ പിന്നീട് തിയോളജിയിൽ ഗ്രാജുവേറ്റ് ചെയ്തതായ പ്രിയപ്പെട്ട ക്രിസ്റ്റിന് ഇന്ന് ഈ സ്ഥാനത്തേക്ക് വിളിക്കപ്പെടുമ്പോൾ അത് അദ്ദേഹത്തിന്റെ കുടുംബത്തിന് മാത്രമല്ല, നമ്മുടെ പിതരാസനത്തിന്, അത് റിപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന മേഖലകളിലൊക്കെയും അനുഗ്രഹമായി തീരട്ടെ എന്ന് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പോസ്തലനായ പൗലോസ്ലീഹ നമ്മെ ഓർമ്മപ്പെടുത്തുന്നത് പോലെ പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയ്ക്ക് അതിൻ്റെതായ ക്രമീകരണങ്ങളുണ്ട്. എല്ലാം ക്രമമായും ചിട്ടയായും നടക്കണമെന്ന് ഉള്ളത് ആവശ്യമാണ്. ഇപ്പോൾ പരിശുദ്ധ സഭയുടെ വിശ്വാസ സത്യങ്ങളേറ്റ് പറയുന്നതിന് വേണ്ടിയുള്ളതായ ആരോഗ്യ വായിക്കും. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് സ്ഥാനാർത്ഥി അതില് സ്ലീപ ആകൃതിയിൽ അതില് ഉപയോഗിക്കും. അതിനുശേഷം ശുശ്രൂഷ ആരംഭിക്കുന്നതാണ്. ഇതിന്റെ Our spiritual son, since you desire to approach the service of Almighty God and this noble man in order to become acquainted with the mysteries of Christ our Lord, receive therefore this great and precious talent which is given to you by our great person. Hence it is our duty to instruct you and set you on the right path to uphold the work of faith without any guilt, as it was delivered by our Lord Jesus Christ in His gospel to His apostles, and they in turn instructed to children of the Holy Church through their apostolic disciples, scholars, and Orthodox workers. Thus you should confess the true belief in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, three persons in one God. Express your faith in public and in private, in word and in thought. You should believe also that one of the three persons, who was the Word of God, has descended from heaven according to His will and the will of His Father and of His Holy Spirit, and dwelt in the pure Holy Virgin Mary, and was incarnate because of His love for mankind. Yet during the time when He dwelt in the Virgin, He was still sitting on the throne of majesty, a perfect God and a perfect man, one person and one nation. You should also acknowledge and follow the chief of the apostles, St. Peter, his fellow apostles, the 72 missionaries, St. Ignatius, Dionysius, Julius, Athanasius, Basilius, Gregorius, John, Corilos, dear scholars, the confessor and seminarians, the representative of all the doctors. After these, you should submit to the authority of His Holiness or Ignatius II, to Peter Evangelio, and to my weak self, the prelate of this archdiocese, who follow their orthodox path. You should also reject with us all idolatry, witchcraft, and all heresies, and also denounce what we denounce, and reject what we reject. So repeat after me. I accept all that your eminence accepts, and I denounce all that your eminence denounce. I believe and confess in what your eminence believe and confess. Now we command you to serve the Almighty God as is required and necessary, without hesitation and idleness. You ought to keep yourself blameless and avoid gluttony, drunkenness, and all that distances man from God. As the Apostle Paul also said, a presbyter that must be blameless, sober, of good behavior, hospitable, apt in teaching, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy of money, but patient, not quarrelsome, not covetous, because all of these things are hated by God. Moreover, you should diligently continue in prayers, fasting, reverence, and supplication to Christ our Lord, for yourself and on behalf of whom you lead in prayer. Be kind to strangers, the weak and the poor. Also arm yourself with humility, gentleness, and kindness to all, so that you may be found worthy to be a true priest deacon in the house of God. Therefore, thereafter, we may stand confidently in the presence of our Lord Jesus Christ and be found blameless concerning you before God. Our beloved Son, now come and mark silent cross in the ordination. Know that this sign shall be witness for you before God and His holy angels, and in front of His holy altar, that you will strive to uphold the true faith which we are entrusting unto you, without guilt and deceit or deceit, that we and you may stand confidently together before Christ our Lord at His second coming. And now in this book you will draw the sign of the living cross during His doors, right your own hand. Promising not to alter anything we shall do with you, you must also be obedient to us, holding our commands, and may God save you. Otherwise, the Lord will judge between me and you on the day of judgment. I now lift my hands towards heaven, asking the Holy Spirit to descend upon you. And since I am a mediator in this, we urge you to uphold all our instructions. Behold, we are here in the presence of God, His angels, the martyrs, and the saints, who stand as witness between me and you, that you should alter none of which we have entrusted to you. We therefore beseech our Lord Jesus Christ to deliver us and you from iniquity, and make you worthy to stand joyfully in His presence, and to be successful in what we entrusted to you, so that you may hear His pleasing voice calling, "Come to me, O blessed my Father, inherit the kingdom which was prepared for you before the beginning of the world." We ask this through the prayers of your Virgin Mary, Mother of God, the martyrs, and all the saints. Amen. Political സ്വയം മുന്നോട്ട് വരുന്നു, തങ്ങൾ സമർപ്പിക്കുന്നു. സൂചനയായിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ സ്ഥാനങ്ങളുടെ മുടി കത്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്.
Ole
Hey,
look favorably to your eternal mercies upon your humble servant, who stands in front of your glorious throne and is anxious to receive your divine grace. May we be worthy to bring him to the service of your holy and pure sanctuary. To you is due all glory and honor, now as we perform this holy sacred service, and in all festivals, occasions, times, hours, and all the days of our life, and forever. Amen. The heavens praise you, Christ, O Lord, with the spiritual ranks, who glorify your mysterious majesty. The earth also worships you through the human race, who was created from dust by your command. You also made them worthy to come and serve you in purity and in holiness. O omnipotent Lord, who searches everything, you have given us, through your beloved Son, our Lord God and Savior, Jesus Christ, and by the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, and granted our humble nature, the earthly humans, the gifts of this spiritual service. You have also filled your holy apostles with your incomprehensible holy gifts, and through them you handed to us and granted us the spiritual authority of the priesthood with its rich treasures. We are grateful for your mercies and praise your grace, while we are confident in your noble hope and are encouraged by our dependence on you. We humbly beg of your goodness and present supplications and requests for you to blot out our sins by your mercies and wipe out our transgressions by your compassion. Grant us to fulfill and obey your commandments and to be fully enriched by your holiness, so that we might be worthy to purely serve you, uninhibited by our weak nature. May we also give your people from your noble and heavenly gifts, and bring forward toward your holy altar whoever is enlightened and invited by your divine knowledge, and is also perfected and brought to completion through our humble selves, because we do not come forward because of our worthiness, but rather to be strengthened by your mercies, which overflow with grace. Therefore, accept this servant of yours, Christopher, who is called to serve you as reader, and perfect him by the indwelling of your Holy Spirit, so that as you purify his body and soul, together from all impurities and defilements of sin and iniquity, he may stand in your sanctuary as a pure lamb which pleases your good and perfect will. May he be strengthened by your divine power and elevated in gifts which are granted by your heavenly and divine knowledge. May we be worthy with him to attain the good latter end which you promised for your saints. To you, O incomprehensible and mysterious Father, we offer praise and thanksgiving, and to your worshipped and inscrutable Son, and to your mystical Holy Spirit, now and forevermore.
Biro
Afterward he brought me to the gate that faces toward the east, and behold, a vision which I saw by the river Chebar, and I fell on my face. And the glory of the Lord came into the temple by way of a gate which faces toward the east. The Spirit lifted me up and brought me to him forth. And behold, the glory of the Lord filled the temple. Then I heard him speaking to me from the temple, while a man stood beside me. And he said to me, Son of man, this is the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever. No more shall the house of Israel defile my holy name, they nor their kings by their idolatry, or with the carcasses of their kings on their high places. When they set their threshold by my threshold, and their doorpost by my doorpost, with the wall between them and me, they defile my holy name by abominations which they committed. Therefore I have consumed them in my anger. Now let them put their harlotry and the carcass of their kings far away from me, and I will dwell in their midst forever.
The reading is from the first general letter of St. John. I write to you, little children, because your sins are forgiven you for his name's sake. I write to you, fathers, because you have known him who is from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you have overcome the wicked one. I write to you, little children, because you have known the Father. I have written to you, fathers, because you have known him who is from the beginning. I have written to you, young men, because you are strong, and the word of God abides in you, and you have overcome the wicked one. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world is passing away, and the lust of it, but he who does the will of God abides forever. Little children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest, that none of them were of us. But you have an anointing of the Holy One, and you know all things. I have not written to you because you do not know the truth, but because you know it, and that no lie is of the truth. Who is a liar but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ? He is the Antichrist who denies the Father and the Son. Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father either. He who acknowledges the Son has the Father also. Therefore, let that abide in you which you heard from the beginning. If what you heard from the beginning abides in you, you also will abide in the Son and in the Father. And this is the promise that he has promised us, eternal life. These things I have written to you concerning those who try to deceive you. But the anointing which you have received from him abides in you. And you do not need that anyone teach you, but as the same anointing teaches you concerning all things, and is true, and is not a lie, and just as it has taught you, you will abide in him. And now, little children, abide in him, that when he appears, we may have confidence and not be ashamed before him at his coming. If you know that he is righteous, you know that everyone who practices righteousness is born of him. Bless my Lord.
Hallelujah.
all things visible and invisible, and in the Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, begotten of the Father before worlds, let it lie, true God, begotten not made, being of the same substance with the Father, and by whom all things were made, who for us men and for our salvation came down from heaven, and was incarnate of the Holy Spirit of the Holy Virgin Mary, Mother of God, and became man, and was crucified for us on the days of Pontius Pilate, and suffered and died and was buried, and in the third day he rose again according to his will, ascended into heaven, and sat on the right hand of his Father, and shall come again in his great glory, to judge both the living and the dead, whose kingdom shall have no end. And the living Holy Spirit, like giving from all, who proceeds from the Father, and who with the Father and the Son is worshipped and glorified, who spoke to the prophets and the apostles, and one holy Catholic Apostolic Church, we confess one baptism for the remission of sins and for the resurrection of the dead, and into the life of the world to come. Thy
So that your incomprehensible name may be praised by everything and every human, because of all your grace toward our race, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, now and always and forever. Amen.
Amen. Let the Lord peace be unto you all.
and thy Spirit.
നമ്മുടെ സഹോദരന്മാരായ വിശ്വാസികളെ ഇത് പുതുതായി സ്ഥാനമേലിരിക്കുന്നതായ ഈ സിംഹാസനം നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അനുഗ്രഹമായി തീരുമാൻ ഇടവരുത്തുവാനായിട്ടും ഒരു പ്രാർത്ഥന നിങ്ങളുടെ സഹായം ഉണ്ടാകുവാനുമായിട്ടും സന്തോഷങ്ങളുടെ കാലത്തും ശുഭവത്സരങ്ങളും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ലഭിക്കാനുമായിട്ട് നല്ലതാകുവാനായിട്ട് പ്രതാപേക്ഷനായിട്ട് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കണം. ദൈവം അവസാനമില്ലാത്ത വാഴ്വുകൾ നിറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്നതായ തന്റെ വലതുകരം നീട്ടി നിങ്ങളെ വാഴ്ത്തുകയും സകല ദുഃഖങ്ങളും നിങ്ങളെ കാക്കുകയും ഉപദ്രവങ്ങളും നിങ്ങളെ മറച്ചുപോവുകയും ചെയ്യുമാറാകട്ടെ. സർവ്വ നന്മകളും പ്രവർത്തിക്കുവാൻ നിങ്ങളെ യോഗ്യരാക്കുകയും തന്റെ ഇഷ്ടം പ്രവർത്തിക്കുന്നവരായ സകല നീതിമാന്മാർക്കും പുണ്യവാന്മാർക്കും വാഗ്ദാനം ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നതായ ആ നല്ല അവസാനത്തിലേക്ക് നിങ്ങളെ കൊണ്ടു നൽകുകയും നിങ്ങൾ കീഴ്വഴക്കും അനുസരണമുള്ളവരായി തീരുവാൻ ഇടവരുത്തുകയും ചെയ്യുമാറാകട്ടെ. തന്റെ കരുണ നിങ്ങളെ മേൽപ്പിടിച്ച് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും തന്റെ നന്മകളെ ധാരാളമായി ചൊരിഞ്ഞു തരികയും നിങ്ങളുടെ ഇടയിൽ ശപിക്കപ്പെട്ട ശത്രുവിന്റെ തർക്കങ്ങളും ചതിവുകളും ദൂരീകരിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുമാറാകട്ടെ. നിങ്ങളുടെ മക്കളെ കാത്തുകൊള്ളുകയും അവരിൽ നിന്നും വെടുപ്പും വിശുദ്ധിയും പുണ്യമുള്ള പട്ടക്കാരെയും ശുഭാശന്മാരെയും നിയമിക്കുകയും പരീക്ഷകളിൽ നിന്നും നിങ്ങളെ കാത്ത് രക്ഷിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുമാറാകട്ടെ. നിങ്ങളുടെ മരിച്ചുപോയവരെ കരുണയുടെ ആശ്രയിച്ച് സഹോദരന്മാരുടെ പരിശുദ്ധന്മാരോട് കൂടെ അവരെ നിലനിർത്തുമാറാകട്ടെ. എന്റെ പിതാവിനെ അനുഗ്രഹിക്കുന്നവരെ നിങ്ങൾ വന്ന് ലോകാരംഭത്തിന് മുമ്പേ നിങ്ങൾക്കായി കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന രാജ്യത്തെ അവകാശമാക്കിക്കൊള്ളുവിനുള്ള ആ സന്തോഷ ശുദ്ധം കേൾക്കുവാൻ നമ്മൾക്കും നിങ്ങൾക്കും ഇടവരുത്തുമാറാകട്ടെ. ആയത് ദൈവമായ പരിശുദ്ധയുടെയും ചില പരിശുദ്ധന്മാരുടെയും ശുദ്ധിയുടെയും പ്രാർത്ഥനകൾ തന്നെ. ശുശ്രൂഷ ഇവിടെ സമാപിക്കുകയാണ്. കുർബാന നിന്റെ ദാസന്മാർക്കായി പാപപരിഹാരം ഇറങ്ങി വരുവാകണമേ.
നിങ്ങളെ നാം വീതതായ സമയത്ത് നിങ്ങൾ സമാധാനത്താലേ
ദൂരസ്ഥന്മാരോടുകൂടെ സമീപസ്ഥരും പരിശുദ്ധവരോടുകൂടെ ജീവനുള്ളവരും നമ്മുടെ കർത്താവിയാൽ രക്ഷിക്കപ്പെട്ടവരും വിശുദ്ധ മാമോദീസമേൽ മുദ്രയിടപ്പെട്ടവരുമേ ഈ തുടർന്ന് നിങ്ങളുടെ കടങ്ങൾ പരിഹരിക്കും, നിങ്ങളുടെ തെറ്റുകളെ ക്ഷമിക്കും, നിങ്ങളെ പരിശുദ്ധവരുടെ ആത്മാക്കൾക്ക് ആശ്വാസം നൽകുകയും ചെയ്യും. ഞാൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ പ്രാർത്ഥനയും കാത്തിനും സഹായവും കരുണയും ഉണ്ടാകട്ടെ. മത്സരങ്ങളെ നിങ്ങൾ സന്തോഷിച്ച് സംതൃപ്തരായി സമാധാനത്താലെ പോകുവിൻ. നാളോടും നിന്റെ ബലഹീനതയോർത്ത് പ്രാർത്ഥിക്കുകയും ചെയ്യുകയും.
Day of the feast of Elias the Patriarch. I was going with His Holiness Aungan Pushkaran from Manjanikara to Kottayam. His Holiness Aungan told me, Annan Kunyum Tannalai. A small, tiny squirrel can do what it can. It was in the context of building a church in Changanasheri under the leadership of Reverend T.J. Joshua. This was for hundreds of students, and all these students participated in the building. That was the contest. His Holiness told me, Annan Kunyum Tannalai. Our Lord called different people and give talents, 1 or 5 or 20 or hundreds. The same way the church, altar boys, subdeacons, deacons, priests, bishops, all have their own responsibilities. Faithfully do what we can is for the glory of God, and it is essential for the growth of the kingdom of God. There are many people assembled here, our relatives, friends from different parts of North America, from Canada, Texas, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Long Island, Connecticut, and different areas. This occasion is prepared by Titos Tirimeni. He accepted us to this archdiocese that we Chris is ordained. We have a turning point in our ministry in this diocese. I have to acknowledge several people in this contest. First is His Grace Dionysius John Kawak, Archbishop for the Eastern Diocese of the Syriac Diocese. And another Archbishop is here, Reverend Father Daniel Pintiai, Primate and Archbishop-elect, Armenian Church. He was supposed to consecrate last month, but some reasons it is postponed for a few weeks. Otherwise, he was here with his full authority. And I have to also acknowledge the presence of Reverend Father Cherian and Paul Cherian from Bronx, Reverend Father George Matthew from Baltimore, Maryland, Father George Gregory White, Orthodox Church of America, Father Francis Andy, Assyrian Church of the East, Professor Edward Matthews, Professor of Syriac in different seminaries around New York and Pennsylvania, and Reverend Father Totros Vishala, Coptic Church, White Plains, Reverend Father Joseph Chamon, St. Mark's Cathedral, Reverend Father Dr. Jerry, Diocese Secretary of the Malangari Archdiocese, Reverend Father Givargis Chattatil, representing my home parish in India, Reverend Father Joy John, Staten Island, Reverend Father Dr. Joel Jacob, Reverend Father Agash Paul, and De Arroyo, Reverend Father Andrews, De Arroyo, Reverend Father Augen, De Arroyo, Reverend Father Saliba, and other deacons, and some other clergies. I don't know the names. First time I am meeting them. I like to welcome all of you in this reception meeting, and Father Jerry, Reverend Dr. Jerry, Diocese Secretary, will give a few minutes.
Furthermore, Your Eminence, Martito Cielo, our Archbishop, all of our Archdiocese of the Syriac Orthodox Church of North America, the Archbishop of the Eastern Archdiocese of the Syriac Orthodox Church, His Eminence, Dionysius John Kawak, Very Reverend Father Daniel Pindikian. Dearly beloved brothers and sisters in Christ, this is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. It's a day, another day to rejoice for the Malabar Archdiocese of the Syriac Orthodox Church of North America, as one of our brother faithful comes forward into the ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ. I met Chris just a few months ago, actually earlier this year, but learning from him and his devotion to the Holy Church inspired me a lot, and I believe, as well as our Archbishop also, and hence his Archbishop decided to ordain him as Goroyo. Archbishop, His Eminence Dionysius John Kawak, has been a spiritual father for all of us, a brother to our Archbishop, His Eminence Martito Cielo, younger brother, younger in heart, but a spiritual
spiritual father for all of us. He loves and he cares for all of us. He's always there anytime we need him. Your Eminence has always been there for us. You're always in our heart. And thank you, Your Eminence, for allowing us to use this beautiful cathedral to conduct the Holy Corbono as well as the service of the Holy Ordination. Thank you, Archbishop, from the bottom of our heart. On behalf of our Archbishop and the Archdiocese, we are deeply indebted to His Eminence Cortelius John Kabak for allowing us to use the cathedral today. Very Reverend Father Daniel Fiddikian. Many of us know him very well. He's known throughout the world. The primate-elect of the Armenian Archdiocese, he's already the primate, sorry. He's already the primate of the Armenian Archdiocese and will be consecrated on May the 12th, 2019 in Armenia. We, on behalf of Archbishop Martito Cieldo, and on behalf of all the members of our Archdiocese, congratulate and we ask Father Daniel to continue to pray for our Archdiocese, our Archbishop, and our faithful members as we pray for you, and we will wholeheartedly welcome you to this function. And of course, our Archbishop Martito Cieldo, he needs no welcoming, but our Archbishop Martito Cieldo strives a lot and works very hard. As you all know, many of us don't even get to see him much because he's always flying around. We know that, as he has a very, very busy schedule attending to nurture all the faithful throughout this Archdiocese. We are deeply indebted to His Eminence Martito Cieldo, and we wholeheartedly welcome Archbishop Martito Cieldo to this function as well.
Good afternoon. Therefore, saying Titos Cieldo, and therefore to my friend, Father, Reverend Father Daniel, Primate of our sister Armenian Church. And by the way, myself and Senator Titos were planning to come and be with you, praying for you during your ordination. So congratulations in advance. I'm not here to preach, but I'm welcoming all of you to your home, our Friend Center and St. Mark's Cathedral. I'm happy and delighted because of the ordination of Christopher to the rank of reader or ruler in the Holy Church. Shamasha or deacon, it's a very vast concept. All of us, we are deacon, servant, shamasha in the church. Now, Deacon Christopher is going to have a special rank in the Holy Syrian Church. Maybe one day we'll celebrate your ordination as a priest, and I assure you I'll be with you and I'll be praying for you always. So I'm here to extend my congratulations to his father, to the new ordained deacon, to His Eminence, my brother in Christ. You might know that we spent a few years in Damascus together while he was there studying and living with us in our seminary. And by the way, I conducted the choir during his ordination as a bishop, metropolitan, to your esteemed Archdiocese here in North America. Congratulations again, and may the Lord bless and continue to bless you and all your related family. Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Eminence. Next, let me call upon Very Reverend Father Daniel Kondikian, the Primate Archbishop of the Armenian Archdiocese of the Eastern United States.
Thank you very much, Your Eminences, my dear brothers and fathers, dear clergy, and dear brothers and sisters in Christ. It's a great honor for me to be here today to celebrate with you the ordination of our beloved Chris as a deacon leader of the Holy Church. And I'm here not simply to observe and to celebrate with you, but I'm here because I too feel pride in dear Chris, who's been a friend and child of our church as well, in the Armenian Church. A friend of our seminarians, a friend of our St. Narcissus Armenian Seminary, and I've known him and followed his service to the Holy Church for years now. So for this great day, I feel a certain pride myself, a holy pride, as it were. And my presence here also reminds us all once again of the holy unity that we share in Jesus Christ. Although they're different, Armenia and India and the Syrian Orthodox Church and other churches that are represented here, but we share in a true holy communion. And the unity that we testify to, despite our very plain and evident differences in appearance, in language, and culture, is powerful. And it shows the power of our Lord Jesus Christ, His love for us, to be able to bring us together. Here, as Oriental Orthodox and Apostolic Christians, but also in the larger community. Let that be our witness to the world. Here in the United States, in the Eastern United States, as we continue to find occasions to celebrate together, to celebrate the love of our Lord Jesus Christ. Let us also come to know one another and grow closer to one another so that we may strengthen that witness in our world today. I thank you, Dionisios Montitos, for having me preside with you. A great dignity and a great honor for me and for my church. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Daniel. Next, let me call upon Reverend Father George Matthew from Baltimore to say things.
Your Eminences, respected clergy members, and dear friends in Christ, I've known Chris for how many years now? It's been a long time, and I've known Achin and watched my family for many years, and Achin and I worked on many books together. Achin used to write so many books. I used to write with him and work with him on those things. So I've known the family for many, many years, and when I heard Achin was getting ordained, I was so happy. He's a person who is really devoted to the church, as you've heard today, and he's a person who really wants to serve the church. So really God has given a great opportunity now for him to begin this great, or to work with Christ in his ministry. Let me just say a couple of words on this occasion. First thing I want to remind you is that as you begin this new journey, remember that it is a journey towards the cross. So it's not an easy ministry that we have. And so during the days that are difficult, those days that are trying, you always have to remember it is the strength of Christ who will sustain you through these days. So definitely have to always rely on Christ for all things. The second thing I want to remind you is that this ministry has to be a ministry that is rooted in repentance, forgiveness, and love. So your job is not only to spread the message of Christ, the gospel, but also to bring people to Christ, bring them together, reconciliation, and forgiveness and love, spreading that love of Christ so that each person can feel Christ's love. So we congratulate you, we pray for you, we ask that God will continue to bless you in ministry.
Thank you, Reverend George Matthew. Next, let me call upon our Archbishop, His Eminence Marquitos Yellow, to give us the concluding remarks.
In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, Amen. Your Eminence, Dionisios John Kawak, Your Eminence, Very Reverend Abel Daniel, respected Corpus Floyd, our priests, deacons, and sisters and brothers in Christ. I know the family of Father Gregory for several years, since when I was a student in St. Bradford Seminary. They were living close to the seminary, so I had a chance to visit their family on a special occasion at that time. And then we met several times in the campus, and we lost touch. Then recently, a few months back, he contacted me and approached me that he and his family wish to join the Archdiocese. And informed me that about this and his ministry and his vision in the plans for the future life. So it was a great opportunity for me to know more about them. And when I got the application, I submitted that to the patriarch, as well as the patriarch, when he visited last time. And with his consent, we accepted and approved the entry of Father Gregory and his family to our Archdiocese gradually. And it's very hard for people to dedicate their life to the ministry, especially in this country where everybody is very busy with all these secular jobs and family affairs and so other things. But when I saw that a person who dedicated his life to the ministry and spent many years in the seminaries, and a friend of Armenian, as Father Dan was mentioning, and of the universities, because he used to come here for Bible studies and Kurbanas. So such a person, if he wished to pursue his ministry as an ordained person, why not we let him? So it was a joyful decision to ordain him, even though we are ordained him as a leader today. This is a starting point, as I was mentioning. There's a long way to go, and we wish to see you as a priest in the near future, because it's already late in his, experience, and he's matured, and he used to work with the Catholic Archdiocese also, with the organization of boys and girls and youth activities. So he has much experience already, so we will not wait that much, but we want you to get married if you want, or we need some time to follow through. But still, this is a day that the Lord has made, and let us rejoice in it. As the Lord mentioned, it is not you who chose me, that rather I chose you, as we read in John chapter 15. So it is the choosing or choice of our Lord Jesus Christ, and we should remember that we are chosen not because we are special, but we are special because we are chosen. As we learn from the Old Testament leaders, they were so ordinary people, but when God chose them, they were very important, capable personalities, even the two apostles. So when God chose one person for his ministry, he enables us. He is the one who is encouraging us, and it is our duty to be with him, be in a good relationship with him through prayer, through meditating the scripture, and through our lives. So my two words will be to be with him, to follow him closely and dearly, and be a good servant of our Lord, because you are called to be a servant to the Holy Church, as Lord Jesus was mentioning. We are all, whether you are a bishop, or a priest, or a deacon, or a layman, we are all called to serve others and to be God's people. So we congratulate once again Chris and his family, and thank you, each one of you, for coming and joining us in this holy and happy day. God bless you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. As our Archbishop mentioned, Father Griegos and Deacon Chris joined us a few months ago, and it's definitely inspiration for many people to see that, to see two men that lead such a holy life to join our archdiocese and come forward, regardless of what the situation is. So we wholeheartedly welcome Father Griegos and Deacon Chris and their family members to this archdiocese. At this time, let me invite Deacon Chris to say a few words to us.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. One true God, Amen. I just want to give thanks today and thank God for having mercy on me. It was, there was a lot of ups and downs to, come this way. It's not always easy. But everywhere I turned, every church I turned to, they showed me so much love. I just want to give thanks to Mortitos for believing in me, believing in the future of the church. I want to thank Mortinacios. He always showed me so much love and so much care, and he totally welcomed me. I can't believe it. And my longtime friend, I like to call friend, Bishop-elect of the Primate of the Armenian Church. To me, he's such an inspiration because he's an American-born member of our church, and he's an example of if we have dedication to God and we put God first in our life, like we too could be, or God willing, we could all be priests for God, male or female. I want to thank all of you for coming today. You all mean so much to me and our family. Thank you so much, and please pray for me so that God will strengthen me. Thank you.
Sukhame kum no
Let me also take this opportunity thanking our choir that was leading us today, Father Joy John and Shalin. Thank you, especially in leading us throughout the services today. Thank you.
Pavis
good day, everyone, and welcome to this very interesting event, which is about a book release and discussion on globalization and economic justice, from terrorism to global peace. And of course, it's a subject that's I think it's very timely and I mean crucial to build global peace, but also global prosperity. Prosperity that is shared by everyone. At the United Nations, we talk about the 2030 agenda, which is really about leaving no one behind. So welcome everyone. I'd like to say that I am, first I should introduce myself. I'm Yamina Jakta. I am a former UN staff, actually. I used to be the former director, the director of the UN Habitat New York office. And I met, I think, some of you in that capacity. I'm an advisor of the GRACE initiative. And I would like in this regard to acknowledge Ms. Yvonne Buduko, who is the founder of the GRACE initiative. So I would like to welcome you all. And as you will see from the program, there are a number of eminent personalities and representatives here. I won't go through the list because I'm sure the moderator will be introducing every one of you. And I think that there is an interesting panel, and without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Chris Koriakos. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you all, and I would like to formally welcome all the distinguished guests here who have come here to attend this book launch from the many regions of the earth, from the Middle East, India, Canada, and from the different areas of the United States. The first event of today's book launch is the release of the book, Globalization and Economic Justice, from Terrorism to Global Peace. I would like to ask Mr. Tomasoli Massimo, the permanent observer of IDEA to the United Nations, to release the book. Mr. Kashif Sheikh will give the book to Mr. Tomasoli Massimo.
Please come. Please look to the
Thank you for your kind words of introduction, Chris, and thank you for your opening remarks, Yamina. And welcome to everybody. We at International IDEA value a lot the knowledge production and the exchange of knowledge in a way that is useful and used by policymakers, especially in the UN. So that is the main reason why I wanted to be part of this event with friends, including George Matthew, with whom we have been working together for a long time in the context of the community of democracies, and especially in terms of fostering democratic institutions at the grassroots level. And also it has been a great pleasure to collaborate also with Dr. Koriakos, who is the editor of this book and the main author, and who will say a few words, of course, introducing the analysis. Let me just say what is my view about this book. And we at IDEA have just published and launched a report, which is the first in a series. We have this report every second year, and it's called The Global State of Democracy. The first volume this year focuses on the issue of resilience. Is democracy resilient? And we had last week the launch here in New York. We had a series of launches, 16 launches around the world, and we'll continue to share our views on this important topic. What is the resilience of democracy? How democratic institutions are resilient? And I think that if you look at that report, you can find that some of the key challenges and the key themes addressed in our analysis actually resonate with the analysis in this book. The chapters in this book show that there is a network of scholars and practitioners from different areas, all trying to look at the impact of globalization and how concerns about redistribution and economic justice may actually contribute to sustainable development. Yamina Diatta, in her introductory remarks, referred to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and there the agenda is in fact trying to address also issues of inequality, issues of peace, justice and accountable institutions, issues of gender inequality, in addition to the many other topics that are addressed by the various sustainable development goals. And I think that this volume speaks to that. When you look at the contributions that analyze non-violence and how these can contribute to dialogue and coexistence, I think that this is a very powerful analysis of the importance of processes alongside the importance of setting the objectives and defining perhaps a roadmap in order to achieve them. So I'm welcoming all of you at this event, confirming our interest in the analysis, hoping that this analysis will be useful for policy makers, and continuing to collaborate with the institutions that have been behind this launch and that are very good partners for international ideas work, especially when it comes to the role of civil society and the role of think tanks in advancing the agenda of democracy worldwide. Thank you very much.
My dear friend Massimo, other Kyriakos, distinguished participants, I consider it an honor to be with you for the release of this book and the book discussion. First of all, let me congratulate Professor Kyriakos for taking such an initiative to bring out a volume like this. About 14 contributors? Yeah. 14 contributors from different parts of the world. Put them together and focus on an issue which is highly relevant today. You know, the various areas of concern, schools, school children, family economy to global economy, climate change, medicine and medical issues, non-violent experiments, Quran and Islamic approach to peaceful coexistence, employment issues, eradication of child poverty, oil industry, globalization, peace employment, income generation, heroes of North America for peace, neoliberalism. What a widespread, what a canvas is covered. That is where we have to give our great appreciation to the editor. And let us give a big hand to what I wanted to say is that this is a very serious issue, and we are all concerned about it. And out of this terrorism and all this give birth, and where are we going to the issue of peace? The issue is, in the world today, 1% is dominating 99%. With the billionaires or billionaires and all these things. The second issue I wanted to just highlight for our thinking is why all this injustice is happening is defense expenditure. This is a very important issue we have to consider. I'm sure this kind of intellectual community, a thought process can start. In this book, there is a quote: "As long as there is poverty in the world, I can never be rich. Even if I have $1 billion, I cannot be rich if there is poverty in the world. As long as diseases are rampant and millions of people in this world cannot expect to live more than 28 or 30 years, I can never be totally healthy. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. This is the way our world is made. No individual or nation can stand out boasting of being independent. We are interdependent." Are we like that? Are we going for a world like that? Can we create a new chapter? This is the question. The time has come when dictatorship of the capitalist and greedy cannot go as it is. We should stop it. And we can do that if our thinking, our research, our knowledge base we are creating as academics and all these groups, we have to integrate this research in action. So I would like to say we must commit ourselves, and based on this wonderful work done, let us say, yes, we can. All our intellectual community lead to action-oriented tomorrow. From today, tomorrow. We should not think of only today. We should think of tomorrow. Our future generations and generations. Let us all commit to that. And once again, I thank Kuriago Sachan, my dear friend Massimo, and Yamina for your contribution, and all the dear friends who are here. Several of my dear friends are here. I am very happy to be here. And thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Before I enter to the details of the project, I would like to thank all contributors who wrote different articles on this volume. Your hard work made this volume an excellent work. I would also like to thank Ms. Yamina, Director, Advisor to Grace Initiative, and Dr. George Matthew, Chairman of the Institute of Social Sciences, New Delhi. There are two focuses on these projects. First one is economic development and justice, and second is peace and non-violence in the context of violence and terrorism. Mahatma Gandhi is considered as the champion of peace and non-violence in modern political history. Gandhi was indebted to Leo Tolstoy's writings, especially his book, Kingdom of God is Within You. In addition, Gandhi was very much influenced by the teachings of Jesus Sermon on the Mount. The impact of globalization is very high on global people in different ways. Further, the global people live under the threat of violence and terrorism. In such a context, peace and coexistence is a challenge to all human beings. This fact is spelled out in Professor Takim's article in this book. Professor Takim says, the Quranic view of peace and coexistence is interwoven with its view of a universal moral discourse that unites all human beings. The Quran also views human diversity as a basis for understanding and peaceful coexistence. Fundamental to the Quranic conception of peaceful coexistence is the view that human beings are united under one God. What are the supporting factors as well as destructive factors for development? This is a topic globally. The people who are involved in shaping ideas are seriously concerned. How human development, individual development can happen? What should be the situations? Is it possible without a peaceful atmosphere? In a violent and terrorist dominating culture, how sustainable development can happen? I am sure the organizations like United Nations and all global organizations who are concerned about human development are seriously thinking about this. That is why Mr. Massimo encouraged me to tell more about peace and non-violence, because my chapter itself is dealing with non-violence experiments around the world. Even the non-violence experiment started in this continent along with the immigrants, the British Puritans. That is the introduction itself. Here also another international movement is International Fellowship of Reconciliation. That was started after the First World War in England. Many followers of FOR or Fellowship of Reconciliation organized their movements in different parts of the world. One was even in South India. 3 people who formed a fellowship in the leadership of Ara Keita. He started a fellowship in Kodaikanal Ashram, South India, and around K.K. Chandi organized a ashram near Kottayam and fellowship hospital in Odanchitram, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, and their works are also included. And in South American experience of non-violence, Adolfo Perez Esquivel, and another non-violent fighting pacifist in Japan is Kagawa Toyohiko, and his experiments, Martin Luther King's non-violent action in the US, and Desmond Tutu, the apartheid and non-violence experience in South Africa are included in this discussion. So in the modern situation, even the youngsters has to understand there is an alternative for violence. Many think there is violence can defend only by violence. But our concern, a major concern of this book is there is non-violent way of addressing violence. So in our community developments, in our urban life, in our political movements, everywhere the importance of non-violence or pacifism is emphasized in this book. Because today we are in the context of violent and terrorism. The terrorism, even the first volume of this series, Religion, Terrorism and Globalization, was published after 9/11. After 9/11, this idea came, and I discussed with some friends. And this first volume, well known and very scholars in different walks of life. And then the second volume, Terrorism, Religion and Global Peace, from concept to praxis. So this is also, they are very good articles. Now the third volume published, I am very happy about it. And the next volume is, we are thinking about spirituality, technology and globalization, from terrorism to global peace. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. And with that, we'll open our panel discussion. We're very fortunate to have several distinguished panelists and speakers here with us at the launch of this book. I'll quickly go over who we have, and then I'll let them introduce themselves more thoroughly and speak about their contributions. First, we have Mr. Joe Varghese. He's a professional engineer from the oil and gas sector. Mr. Varghese, if you could just identify yourself for everyone. Next, we have Mr. Bruce Neiswander, the president of Generation Seeds. Next, we have Dr. Sergei Trostyansky, the chair of the governing board from the Institute for Studies of Eastern Christianity from Union Theological Seminary. And finally, we have Mr. Kashif Sheikh, assistant general manager from Arab Gulf Pearl. So without further ado, I will pass on the mic to Mr. Varghese.
Thank you. Distinguished guest, respected Achin, I'm happy to be here. And my name is Joe Varghese. I'm a professional engineer working for an oil major company in Canada. So I'm in the field for the last 30 years. Also, I teach project procurement and logistics in the University of Calgary as a part-time professor. So I wrote a chapter here related to oil and gas industry. So I would like to share some experience and what we have covered in the chapter, and maybe then we can keep for some discussions at the end. So as you know that oil is considered as a black commodity, and it is one of the commodity which goes through a cyclical change, this high and low roller coaster price, which you may or may not have seen the impact of the oil price. You will only see few cents moving up and down in at the gas station. But as a producer, we see a lot of impact and how it impacts our industry, our employment, and our stakeholders, and where we do the business and how it impacts the society. So that is why I took the time to describe that, how it impacts and what are the challenges and what is a responsible way to move forward, because oil industry is known, or it is considered as one of the key contributor for the green gas emission and also for the climate change, which is not proven scientifically, but that is the perception. When there is perception, a lot of people have the same perception, it becomes the reality. So currently, the oil price has gone through a cyclical change. There is 4 changes since 1988. The recent one in 2014, which is started because of the inventory situation and there is a glut in the marketplace. That has a big impact on the global economy. So there are countries which probably have seen or heard about OPEC. OPEC is a cartel where the major oil producers are together and they are controlling the market conditions. The OPEC is headed by Saudi Arabia, and there are member countries which controls 40% of the oil production. There are other major oil producing countries which headed by Russia. The key oil producers in the world is Russia, Saudi Arabia, and US, which is 40% of the total production. So the OPEC, which traditionally controlled the price by cutting down the production level, in 2014 what happened is they did not cut back the production, which in turn the US at the same time started making more oil. So which kind of in turn created a higher oil inventory situation, and that's where the oil prices start falling down, which had a major impact on the industry, because every job in the oil industry has 10 supporting jobs, because when there is a project, there is a lot of supporting activities, including the procurements, the construction, the design, and the fabrication. It is globally that industry is managed. So I've been to Korea a few months back. There is a place called Busan. That whole town is dead because not much oil and gas projects are going on. So there is a big impact on the unemployment, and also there is a big impact on related activities, what was happening. So what was happened is this industry is very strong. It can sustain for another 30 years. There is a lot of reserve, and the three major oil reserve countries in the world is Venezuela, Canada, and also Saudi Arabia. Those three holds 40% of the oil reserve in the world. So it has enough to support for the next 30 years. But again, what is happening is the challenges. When we produce oil, the oil needs to transport through either the pipeline or the rail or road. And also there are spills, and whenever we move the oil through the containers, there are incidents where the spills and the leaks are occurring, and that has a negative impact on the industry. And also the impact of the oil industry is when we extract the oil from the earth and it is processed, and it is a hydrocarbon industry. It is one of the key contributors for the carbon dioxide, and that in turn produces a lot of green gas, and that's why the oil industry is considered as one of the key contributors for the green gas emission. And also the other challenges are, when we are developing these, there are a lot of communities and we have other stakeholders in the process. So we have to satisfy everybody. So currently what is happening in the situation is the OPEC countries and the non-OPEC countries are cooperating. They are cutting back the productions. The inventory levels are coming down. The oil price is recovered to the $50-60. So there is two price index in the international market. One is the Brent crude, which is the international price, and also the WTI that is managed in the North American market. So the prices are recovering, but that price level is not supporting any new project situation, which is again the unemployment rates are going to stay where it is.
So basically what is happening is the oil and gas industry need to consider a responsible development. You can't go and develop unlimited. So it needs to be controlled. It needs to understand the stakeholders' impact. Mainly the stakeholders are the environment. The main polluters of oil and gas is air, water, and also the land. So the disturbance to the land, the pollution to the water and air should be minimal. And also there are new technologies which can reduce the green gas emission. So we are experimenting how we can do the carbon dioxide capture. How can we reduce minimum water and air intake in terms of our production? So those how to reduce by new technology and green gas emissions. The other aspects is there is no government control of oil price. Oil price is a product of market sentiments. And also it is a perception how the price should be going up and down. So there is no government level controls on oil price. A $100 oil price or a $20 oil price is not good for the producers. There should be a reasonably good margin where company can do the development and support the sustainable development. That's where the government help needs for some policy and price control. Lastly, the cooperation among the OPEC countries and the non-OPEC countries are very, very important. Without the lack of cooperation and support, what happened in 2014 could repeat again. So therefore, the cooperation between OPEC and non-OPEC countries are very, very important for a sustainable development of oil and gas. There are alternate sources like the wind power, the thermal power, and solar power, the nuclear power. Those sources are considered as alternate sources to the oil and gas industry. However, those industries or those technologies are not proven commercially to any kind of challenge to the oil and gas industry at this stage. There are developments happening in the various parts of the world, but those developments are not nearly anywhere to offset the oil and gas impact of the current situation. So the current oil consumption at the world level is around 95 million barrels per day. So that with the population growing up, the industry is growing up, because the major users of the oil industry is the automobile industry, the commercial industry, the transportation and shipping industry. So these industries are continually growing. The world population is growing. I'm originally from India. So the number of cars compared to the last 15-20 years is probably 3 times or 4 times more. So the consumption is going up, and these 95 million barrels per day consumption is either maintained or it is going to be increased. Therefore, the sustainable development needs to happen at the same time. A balance between the demand and the growth and the sustainable development is very, very important. At government level, these policy changes are very, very important. The price control is very important. The oil production countries like the OPEC and non-OPEC countries needs to cooperate, and they should not be fighting each other in this situation. And it is contributing, and the major oil companies in the world have a big chunk of the capital in the world market and also in the stock price. So this is an important industry. It needs to be managed. It needs to be sustained. So the support and cooperation from all parts of the world is equally important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ravies. Next we'll go to Mr. Bruce Neiswander.
I want to start by thanking you, Kyriakos, for we met at an event that I was at promoting kind of economic development initiatives with the UN, and he broached the idea of the book. And my goal for here today is this is just a starting point for the subjects in this book. And for those here who know me, I'm all about bottom line, not writing chapters in books. Thanks to your editing, it did sound like I knew what I was doing, but thanks to your editing. And so what I found as I looked around from Varick Street to NYU to all of the other places that I've traveled is there's a growing concern that the world should have, and it's much bigger than global warming. And that is the economic conditions of the middle and lower middle and poor people in the world. Those categories are growing by incredible percentages on a day-to-day basis. Perfect example, what are we going to do with the 70 million plus political refugees that are barely surviving? What are we going to do with the 400 million people in southern India? I've traveled throughout China, and contrary to what they tell the world, they've got their own 700 million of desperate people. And so I came to the conclusion that the one driving factor in all of this is the subject of a job. Everybody needs a job to survive. It's no different than the law of the jungles. If the lions don't kill, they don't eat, they don't live. If people don't have a job and they can't make money, their survival is in question. And more importantly, on the global scene, is because that situation has degraded in such a way, and I say that because I'm embarrassed to sit here in this table of multinational people and being a citizen of the United States. This country has shown how pathetically shallow it can be in a little less than 12 months, and it's an embarrassment for those of us who are here realizing that globalization is the true only solution, and that is the path we've got to pursue. But as I moved through my projects and as I taught some 1,500 international grad students, it became apparent that really there are major changes that have to occur in the world. But our target here at this table should be meaningful jobs, paying a livable wage while participating in the creation of the wealth that occurs. That's a redefinition of economics from the bottom up. And I say that only because there is no way we're going to change how we economically can deal with oil. Oil is oil is oil. Politicians, corruption, they are what they are. And what I've dedicated myself to is, if you're going to have results, you've got to go to the bottom, you've got to get basic and simple, and you've got to help the poorest people in India and the people who live in the Midwestern United States, because it's that loss of hope for a better future that's resulting in the populist situation that's giving the elections where Britain decides to leave the European Union because the people couldn't find jobs. The United States, in its elections, chose to chase somebody who, for whatever reason, would promise that they could deliver jobs, even though they can't. But they would promise that, and that's the results. If you remember the whole scenario around Arab Spring, those were educated college students who knew how to leverage social media and got together and overthrew the governments of some 5 different countries. And again, not unlike Occupy Wall Street, without a solution, it begat maybe a less advantageous situation than it should have. But the bottom line for us is that we've got to figure out how to put maybe 2 billion people who are not working to work. And so if you read my chapter, I like the analogy, because as a tech transfer guy, I get to look at all kinds of technology. And literally, I say all kinds of technology. We could compartmentalize a unit to drop into Puerto Rico and create a sustainable environment, which would include energy, sanitation, clean water, healthcare, and do it in a unit, and it would be sustainable and compartmentalized, and those people would be out of the woods. But given that that's not the focus of the megacorp structure of the global economy, that's not being done. But as you look through this kind of massive change that's going on, the promise for a better future is incredible. But it starts with the youngest person in the most backward country, by convincing them that if they gain the certain skills that they can market, that they do have a promising future in their area, wherever that may be. So if you read my piece, I focus on neighborhood economic development, not national economic development. This is a bottom-up solution. It has to be, because the people have to buy into it. Now you say, well, that's really nice, Mr. Nice Wonder, but that's a mountain so big you can't climb. Well, that's not really true. If anyone looks at the power of and the speed of social media, it takes 1 or 2 real meaningful solutions that deliver bottom line results, and the world's going to tell the rest of the world, hey, there's hope out here. So there is a way to move the solutions around the world quickly. One of the things that I look at that discourages me, and I was a college professor, so I did gain some credibility to have to be able to say this, but we focus on degrees, businesses hire on skills. So if you go to even a small business, they will not hire a Yale PhD unless they can exhibit skills that will immediately benefit that business. That's what our focus should be. We should move our education environment to lifetime skilling rather than short-term degree earning. Why? Less expensive, more focused on the bottom line, and the biggest item is it's coordinated with the rampant change that's occurring in the world today. It was discouraging to tell my students that, by the time you get done with your degree, it's going to be outdated, because there's going to be new changes that will supersede what you're doing. So as an engineer, I empathize with you. I was a chemical engineer at Procter & Gamble for a number of years. The cool thing was you had new technologies and new things that you could do, and it was amazing to do. And I still like Procter & Gamble, but Procter & Gamble is not going to solve the problem of the world. If you look in my logic, I also have a law degree from Ohio State, and right now the major corporations in the world are legally required to increase their profits on a month-to-month, quarter-by-quarter basis. The way they're achieving those profits is by improving productivity, which translates into we do more work with less people. At the end of the day, the markets are so competitive that they can't get more demand, so what they do is they cut costs. Let me give you just a couple of quick solutions that are real fun. Modern technology is fairly simple and fairly contained and affordable. You can take proven technologies, and we're talking about it in the UAE, proven technologies that can be then connected to companies created in third world developing areas, and they can move out and sell water cleaning technologies, they can sell service and support, sanitation. Big item right now is urban gardening. So there's all kinds of way of growing food within on a small community, and it's interesting that community is identical to every other small community. Massive amounts of empty real estate, empty lots, poverty, school systems are going nowhere, people are going nowhere, and they're right on the border of really high volume violence. It's not that hard to flip the switch and leverage innovation, creativity, and start things working even at a junior high level. So a couple of other things. Somebody mentioned here earlier, biggest force in the world today for the 174 poorest countries is essentially economic collaboration. One of the reasons small businesses don't work in small countries is there's not enough demand to keep the company alive. So in conclusion, and I could go on and talk because this is my life right now, for all of you in this room, I can't encourage you enough. There are so many great free education opportunities from Yale and Harvard and MIT. You can go out and I challenge you, because think about what you would do if you lost the job you have right now. What would you do to become employed tomorrow? And sadly, it was who would hire me rather than what do I want to do with my life. And so 20 years ago, I decided what I wanted to do with my life, and that's what I'm doing. But meaningful job, livable wage, participation in the creation of wealth and economics. That's the economy of the future. That's it.
Next, we'll hear from Dr. Sergei Trostiansky.
Thank you, Anna, and thanks to all who came this afternoon to this book presentation event. So I would like to, of course, thank Father Kyriakos. I've known him for quite a long time, and we've shared the same intellectual space at Columbia University Union Theological Seminary, and we've shared the same worshiping space, Lampman Chapel at Union Seminary, right? So, and he's an Eastern Christian priest, and so am I, and I guess we have a lot in common. So thank you, Father Kyriakos. It's always a great pleasure to collaborate with you, and I hope this is not our only project. There's going to be many things yet to come. A few years back, yes, Father Kyriakos asked me if I would like to make a contribution to this volume, and I figured, well, why not? I mean, what should I say? So my chapter was mainly on kind of, I should say, historical. In some ways, the thought is clearly obsolete, right? No one will follow Aristotle in constructing some sort of foundational economic theory this day and age. But on the other hand, there's a lot of wisdom there. There's a lot of very good and very subtle points that they've made that still kind of relate well and sort of address well our modern contemporary issues. So, and I've approached the subject from the standpoint of, like, what does economy mean? What is the sphere of its application? What is its impact on human fate, in general, right? So, and indeed, if we go as far back as to the 4th, 5th century AD, we see that people did not understand economics in the same way we do this day and age, right? So economy is basically about ecos. So is ecology, right? It's about our common house or household, so of which we have to be taken a good care, and if we do not, things go just in disarray. But nevertheless, I think the Church Fathers had a more inclusive, more global understanding of economics, because they thought of it not as narrow as, let's say, Aristotle or modern scholars, what Aristotle used to call economiki, with a limited sphere of application that concerns household management or housecraft management, right? For the Fathers, it was a more global project that concerned our common ecos, which is the whole globe, right? And not just in this life, but also in afterlife. So it concerned this loving care of God for the entire humanity, and therefore it concerns the issues of creation, redemption, salvation, afterlife, etc., etc. So this is a very interesting subject matter, very subtle, very complex. I've tried to kind of approach it from some different angles to highlight some major issues. Of course, talk about a lot about economic justice, about justice in general, in a sense of both distributive justice and corrective justice, and given this definition of justice, of that which is legal and that which is equitable, and trying to exhibit the main features of economic justice, which is equitable, right? Nevertheless, this is just I guess our first communal effort to approach the subject matter, but there's a lot more at stake. I very much sympathize with Bruce's approach that, here's the bottom line, and the bottom line is that you have to have a job, you have to have a job in order to provide yourself and your family with some kind of subsistent existence, at least at the minimum kind of subsistence level, right? If you lose it, then, everything fades away, and you're kind of like completely deprived of all basic human features, of human dignity, of human purpose, I guess. In any case, I see this project as valuable. I see that it might have a good reception, which I guess, for any scholarly book, it takes decades until people read, study, and sort of consciously reflect on the subject matter. But there's something that also is urgent about it, because our common ecos is kind of gradually deteriorating. It's been deteriorating, quite rapidly in the 20th century, but now it's increased its speed, exponentially. So, we have to do something about it. In this case, this book presentation also interestingly coincides with our annual conference. The subject of this particular conference is creation, redemption, and environmental ethics. So we approach the same issue of economy from a more global soteriological perspective. So you're all welcome to join us on Friday. It's a day event which will start at 8 o'clock and be running until 7 p.m. So, and again, thank you to all presenters. Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the Kyriakos. And I would like to pass the mic back to Anna.
Thank you, Dr. T. Finally, we will hear from Mr. Kashif Sheikh.
I'm the Assistant General Manager of Arab Gulf Pearl Trading, and it's a 40-year-old family business that's based out of the Middle East. We specialize in technology identification, marketing, and distribution of services and products. And of course, I'm here to give the SME's perspective on how we can contribute towards counterterrorism. Initially, we started with project supplies. Today, we work with international companies with proven technology solutions to address various problems. One of which is a Swiss company called On-Site HV Solutions. They have technology that helps carry out condition assessment of power cables in electrical utilities. This, however, is a very specific and specialized equipment, and so to help the utilities build skill set, we offer training to the employees to be able to enable them and empower them to be able to use the equipment and protect the company's assets. Now, this is a European technology, but its impact can be even global because it addresses a lot of issues globally. Similarly, there are a lot of local technologies developed across the world which can or have the potential for global impact. And that's why we are looking at working with Generation Seeds to set up a regional headquarters in the UAE. Of course, the UAE is highly accessible, multicultural environment. The government has various initiatives in support of entrepreneurship and skill development. However, we don't, with only government initiatives, it doesn't work out. We, as Bruce has mentioned, that bottom-up development is what we should be looking at, and that's where private sector like us can come in. We play a role. We have a joint venture company called Al Jazeera International Catering, which supplies food to labor camps. And over here, as part of the employee empowerment program, we are able to train non-technical background employees and to become industrial kitchen chefs. Of course, then this is a very small portion of what we do, and the impact isn't significant on the social or economic impact is quite limited. And so here's where we have a need for collaboration between governments and small businesses to have a major impact. In fact, as you mentioned about the neighboring countries, of course, market definition should be, it should allow for efforts to be beyond just the borders, like in the Gulf Cooperative Council, where we're able to set up marketing offices across the region. This could give a lot of opportunity for young individuals or fresh graduates to gain some skill sets in real-life skill sets. And I guess this is where we see working together with Generation Seeds, we'll be able to provide various opportunities and help individuals develop skills. And we look forward to providing a lot of efforts and providing a better situation or working together to improve things in the region over there.
Thank you so much to all of the panelists for your time, your thoughts, your contributions. At this point, the floor is open for any questions that any of the guests have, any of the panelists have.
I'm Thomas Abraham, very pleased to be here in this session I see technology too, because I'm a technologist, I'm a material scientist, specialized in nanotechnology, and do market research on new technologies. I just want to mention about your alternative technology. Solar is already taken off. With this current oil prices, India is going to compete much better, and there are huge plans for solar. So solar will have a big impact in India because oil import is very expensive for India. So with the current oil prices, it will go up very high. And solar will have a dominant role in the energy needs of China and India. Now coming back to Bruce, just want to mention about my own background. I'm a technologist, but my real involvement has been more building so many institutions in the New York area. But what I'm looking at is, see, to have such a setup to bring countries together or states together, I mean, a setup from the UN would have been an appropriate one, but the UN things have all failed, whether it is UNDP or any other segment. Now we as a group of individuals who have come together on a global platform, because the technology has made it easy for us to be connected. 30 million people, just consider it's a country of 30 million people living outside India. We are bigger than many European countries. Our total economic output is much bigger, and we are coming to the state where we as a group can help, and that's what we are trying to look at, in the sense that, let it be a private initiative. Let's forget about UN. But in the other sense, I would also like to say that I'm also a member of the American Society of Engineers of India. I think the greed is no more a thing for them, because they are all established very well. In the sense that, at this stage of life where they have established so well, they don't want to get any more money. Basically what you can contribute, and that is where I'm looking how to trigger that opportunity for people to get motivated to do a larger things of global development. Whether it is Clean India or Clean Ganges or any other thing, sanitation, clean water, using nanotechnology to improve upon the take of the arsenic out of Bangladesh water, all these kind of things. We have a group of people available, but I'm trying to see how to build up that setup so that it can grow on an ongoing basis. And we are working on it within our own organization to see how to motivate and how to build up that setup.
This is the first time I'm actually sitting in a forum like this, so my questions are